What's up, everyone? Welcome to Midnight Motivation, a real and raw podcast about motivation, entrepreneurship, and achieving success. I'm your host, Tony Pec. Welcome back, everyone, to Midnight Motivation. I want to welcome in all the new listeners. For you to be a part of this amazing movement, all you have to do is subscribe, rate, and review, and you can be part of the Midnight Motivation mob and become a fellow boss. Now, today, guys, I got a special guest on here with me. He is a good friend of mine. He's a little bit of an older fellow, in his mid-30s. But that does not discredit the amount of amazing things he's been able to accomplish in just a short few years. He works for one of the largest financial institutions in the world. He is stationed in New York City, the mecca of financials, and he is a leader of leaders. He took no one to a team of 50 plus in just 4 short years, doing millions and millions of dollars in revenue. And I am beyond lucky to have him here, take time out of his busy schedule to come and drop as much knowledge as he can to you guys. I want to welcome, guys, John Salina.
Hey, thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
What's up, John? Happy to have you here. Guys, by the way, this is the first live guest episode I'm recording. He's here with me. We're drinking a little Johnny Blue. Let's say salute.
Cheers to that.
There we go. So that's where we are, guys. So, John, let the people know. Who is John Salina? Let's hear the backstory, man, about all the success. John is a sharp guy, by the way, guys. Nice blue suit, nice fucking Mercedes-Benz E-Class, brand new, beautiful. And he is a powerhouse, man, in sales. He knows sales. He knows psychology. He knows personal development. He gets it all. So we're going to hear, this is going to be your show, John. You're just going to talk and talk and talk.
Wow, that can get us in trouble. But, hey, I think there's probably a lot to talk about. And I'm hoping that, I think every time that we talk, Tony, it's always good conversations, and who knows where it's going to lead.
Yep.
But let's, I guess to give the listeners a little bit of a background.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm really that story of just, somebody who just never gives up despite, the odds or not having any advantages in life. I take a look at some of the formative things that kind of happened for everybody to understand, in my life. I grew up, the oldest of 4 boys, down Long Island. So we had a pretty good family life for the first, I'd say, 6-7 years of my life. Mom and dad in the picture. Some things kind of happened with my father. Had some issues, and caused basically a divorce when I think that was about going into 4th grade. But even prior to that, there was a little bit of separation things, and being the oldest boy in the family with of 4 of us, I kind of always naturally felt this inclination to be a leader, to be the man of the house, and some of those things I think affected the way that I thought pretty deeply. I mean, I was raised by pretty much my entire life. My mom, she was working 2 jobs. What's interesting is I look back at it, we lived in a pretty affluent neighborhood thanks to the fact that my grandparents, so I'll tell you about this, my grandparents happened to buy a house right across the borderline for school districts, right? And so you had the very middle class to lower middle class neighborhood, mm-hmm. and then right across the line was the more affluent, very nice, high level, high end, wealthy people neighborhood. And I got to go to that great school, right, which was awesome looking back at that. But we were the poor kids. We were the poor people in the wealthy school, and it was certainly a challenge and tough. Kind of seeing that, but I also think it kind of sparked a bit of desire, right? If it wasn't, we went and lived with my grandparents, which was interesting in that household. My grandparents had 10 kids. Okay, so my mom was one of 10. I think she's the 3rd oldest.
Jeez.
My youngest aunt is probably, I think she's only like 6 or 7 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So my mom's youngest sister, and it was just a long, span of children. My grandparents, God bless them, I love them. They're married over 60 years now.
That's impressive.
In their 80s, right? Still together, still going strong. You want to talk about, 2 individuals that really built that family essence and that family unit mentality into people. Of course, of mostly Italian background. I don't have the 100% claim like you.
Not lucky like me, I guess.
No, I guess not. But, that's the only part I recognize is the Italian part. So,
that's all that matters.
We look back at that, and, that house, right? We had up to 14 or 15 people living in it at any given point in time. And there was a point where me and my brothers all shared one room,
wow.
right? So, 4 of us growing up, it was a little tough. But, it was also, family had a lot of love. We not a lot of money, but a lot of love. Mm-hmm. And there was very, very blue collar kind of background, and not many people, if you look at the generation prior to me, like my mom and her sisters and brothers, I don't know that anybody even went to college, maybe one of them. You know, and they always told me, John, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, you know, growing up, and that's what you're going to do to make money. I don't know. It led me to kind of do. I had to put myself through college, right? So I started with. I went to actually a pre-med program. I finally, you know, I started to do that, and I realized after a semester that
What semester?
this is not for me. This is not for me. And you know, but I always kind of found ways to work. I was working since I was 12 years old. You know, I had to find a way to make money if I wanted anything that I wanted. Right, I had to find a way to go out there and make it. So I did different types of things. I worked, you know, jobs from places like Staples when I was a kid, when I was old enough to actually have working papers at 14. And what I found in doing that, you know, to GNC, to different, like, it was all sales related jobs, right? And I found that, I think what got me the bug was that I realized that it didn't matter how old I was, didn't matter the experience I had, but if I can relate to people and sell, I could excel. Right, and I think that's what kind of happened. I got promoted in all those places, and I ended up doing some telemarketing while I was in high school for a chimney company. Right, setting appointments for these guys to go out. So it's from 5 to 9 o'clock. Right, I go to school, I go to wrestling practice. Right, that finish up. Then I go to the office, and there'd be a phone and a reverse directory with lists of people on by street name, and I just pick up the phone, dial. And there was an incentive. It was cash incentive based upon the appointments that you set.
Wow.
Every night. So from 5 to 9, I'd make those phone calls, and if you hit 5 appointments in a night, you get this nice, you know, cash bonus of, I think it was like $50 or $60 cash that night, right? Plus my $10 an hour for just doing what I do. And I made it a goal every night to hit 5 appointments. I wouldn't leave until I did, right? And I made sure that I hit it. And you know, for a 16-year-old. You know, there were weeks that I would be coming out of there making $600, $700, $800 cash, right, with all the bonuses and stuff. I mean, for me, that was a lot of money. I didn't come from anything. I was doing good.
Cash too,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it was cash, right?
And since you're so fucking old too, this is like years ago. When, you know, $600 is like 60 grand nowadays. You know,
that's nuts, man. You're making me feel my age.
But no, it's funny you said that because you were selling, you were crushing it. But I'm sure you didn't even know what the fuck you were doing.
No,
you were just hungry. At that point, you were hungry. Now you know what you're doing. You know how to fucking sell. But then it was just pure hunger and tenacity that got you those deals.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was really just realizing that it was truly a numbers game, and I learned that however many no's it was going to take to get a yes, all I had to do was start to love the no. Yeah. And at a young age, I didn't even realize, nobody taught me that. That's just stuff that guys, podcasts, stuff like this was not out, right? If I wasn't going to the library to read a book. And honestly, this is not that long ago.
It's back to the dinosaur age, like I was saying.
You look at the difference.
It's like 10 years ago.
Come on, man. I graduated high school in 2000. I mean, you think that turn of the century you'd have this type of stuff. But yeah, I guess we really, it wasn't, information wasn't as readily accessible as it is today, I'd say. And just through the experience I learned, and it was fun. We made it a fun environment. That's another thing I learned. Is like I recruited all my friends to come work there. And I was like, guys, come on, we can do this. You make $500 a week just doing nothing. And you get on the phone for a few hours a night. It's great. Yeah. Then we all go out and hang out and blow all the money every single night because we didn't know any better, right? But yeah, you know, so I did that, and I found that sales was really, really interesting. And I, you know, when I kind of left the pre-med program, I actually did some bodybuilding for a little while, and I did some competitions, and when I was at that age, and I decided I wanted to go away to school and, you know, try to study accounting, and that which ultimately led to business. And I did go. I went up to the University at Albany, a state school. Figured that's all I could really afford. I had no support. Parents couldn't afford to give me anything. I had to figure out a way to do it. So I went up there and I did it. I bounced at bars and stuff like that. I know that you did that. Did what I had to do. And, you know, what's interesting about that is I actually fell into a pretty bad crowd during that period of time. You know, we were getting in fights and brawls, a lot of other stuff that we don't need to get into. And, you know, it's interesting how I look back at it today and realize that certain things had to happen to lead me to where I am, right? I was always brought up, Roman Catholic household, you know, Christian values, you know, to be a good person. But sometimes when you're in a situation where I look back, I was like, I always wanted to be able to be in a position where I didn't have to ask for things or I didn't have to want for things, because I always kind of grew up feeling like I didn't have enough, right? Or I couldn't get it, right? And so it's interesting, like sometimes you make some bad decisions. I think there's probably even some of the listeners out there that might be able to relate to that. You know, you go through it, and it's not until after you realize all the real true opportunity that's out there and there is better pathways that you can kind of look back and say, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right? It's never worth it to go down that path. And I remember there was a crossroads where, it almost cost me my life. And, I remember that night kind of thinking to myself, I said, if I'm really going to do this, because I'm kind of an extreme guy. Like, I like to do things to the limit. And whether that was sports or whether it was really anything I did, I was like, I'm either going to have to be a really bad guy, and I'm going to be the baddest bad guy out there, or I got to turn things around and just try to be a really great guy and do the right thing for people. And I remember that night making a very clear decision that in my heart, I'm not a bad guy. And I didn't want to go that route. So, I made a decision to be a good guy. And it's funny how, all the people I made a conscious decision to leave behind all those people that were influencing me in my circle.
But that's hard. Talk to people about how you were able to do that, especially at a younger age. You were still a kid at that age,
Yeah, I was under 20 years old at that time, yeah.
Like people right now, I'm sure I got plenty of listeners on here. You guys have circles that they don't support you or they just don't help you level up pretty much. They're dragging you down. You might be the top of the circle. What can you recommend to them to break away from that circle? Because it's difficult. Like you said, they were your friends. You went through stuff with them, so you built the rapport in that relationship.
Yeah.
How can you just break away and saying, hey, I want to be better, so fuck you guys pretty much. I need to leave and do my own thing. What's the best route for people to do?
Yeah, it was, that was very difficult. And, I think for me, the way that I did it was I just kind of told guys that, hey, I need to take a little break right now. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see much of me. And I didn't want to do it in a way that I wanted them to make them feel like they did anything wrong, mm-hmm. right? But I knew I wasn't in a mental position to influence them for the better just yet, mm-hmm. and I had to build myself up. So I kind of just disappeared for a while, right? And it was fortunate the circumstances. I actually started dating a new girl at that time, and she was exactly. And you want to start talking about law of attraction type of stuff, man? Mm-hmm. We can get into that, but she was exactly the girl I wanted at that point in time in my life, right? Mm-hmm. And I found her, and I realized I just kind of she was really positive influence on my life too, at the time, and I just kind of spent a lot of time with her, and then I just got, it's funny, immediately, and this is to the listeners, what you guys understand is that the minute you change your mind about something and you start focusing on something different, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, conspires to bring things in you that are going to be right in line with what you're looking to do. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ended up finding my career in financial services, because literally I'd say it was within a month of me distancing myself from all the negativity, distancing myself from all the bad stuff, that the opportunity came in my lap.
A month?
Probably a month.
That's not typical.
Not at all.
That's
but
not typical.
It might though.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
You never know. And it just so happens that I'll tell you tell everybody how I ended up getting into financial services. I remember I was going out. We went out to dinner or to a bar together. Me and my girlfriend and a couple of her friends. We were out late drinking a little bit. Right? We were having fun. It's college time. Mm-hmm. And I remember waking up the next morning. I was a little hungover, and I was like, I'm not going to go to, because I still was going to classes at that time. I'm not going to go to class. Forget it. I'm staying in. I'm tired. I don't feel good. I got the headache. And it's the weirdest thing is I laid my head back down. That little voice in my head just kept telling me, get up and go.
To class.
Yeah. I don't know why, right? Mm-hmm. I just felt, I was and I couldn't fall back asleep. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. Yeah. So I'm already probably 20 to 30 minutes behind schedule. So by the time I get to the class, I jump in the shower, mm-hmm. get dressed, go to the classroom, stadium seating, so nobody really cares. You come in and out, they don't know, right? And I remember sitting down, and the professor is just really done with the lesson by the time I sit down. What the heck did I rush here for? But he's also, because he ended it a little early, and he's like, but before I let you guys out, I want to introduce somebody that I know for a long time. He works in financial services, and he wants to talk to you a little bit about the career and what it entails, and if any of it, any of this sounds interesting to you, you can stay back and talk to him. Maybe there's some internship opportunities.
That's crazy.
And, I saw this guy get up, really sharp guy, suit, looked like the kind of guy I wanted to be.
What right? I just described you as.
And then, I know you always talk about the brand, but I think I always had this kind of vision that I saw myself. I wanted to be working in New York City, wearing a suit to work every day. I didn't know any better at that time. I didn't know what's possible. And I just wanted to make that happen in my life. And I was I saw this guy. I was like, man, this is my opportunity. And he talked about what they did and how they help people and what the career was like. And I was like, man, this sounds great. And I'm naturally a pretty shy guy by nature until I get to know somebody. I didn't really want to go out and go up to him and talk to him, but I went down, I spoke to him, and, a couple of days later, I was in there for an interview for an internship. I got that, and that's how I got my start, man. I think I was not even 21 yet.
That's crazy. But then you didn't get a college degree. You didn't finish college.
No, I didn't.
So how did you stay with the job? They let you stay?
So I started as the internship, and with all my sales experience, I found it kind of fun. I was doing a lot of cold calling. I was doing a lot of things getting out there, and I started learning new methods of meeting people. Because in our business, right, if you don't have a market or you can't meet people, you don't have a business.
You gotta make
it's just
your
like
own market.
any other business. You've got to go and make the market. And being 20, 21 years old, people aren't really taking you seriously unless you can find an angle to make them take you seriously, right? And honestly, you don't know a lot of people at that age, right?
But like you said, sales was fun to you.
Yeah.
For most people, I know there's probably a lot of listeners, they hate sales. A lot of people hate sales. Sales is fucking scary to a lot of people. It's intimidating. But most people that are fantastic at sales, they enjoy it. Like you said, it's a game.
It is a game. And I'll tell you one thing. I do not enjoy getting told no. I do not enjoy rejection. In fact, I hate rejection. But I've conditioned myself to love it. Not love the rejection, but love the end result, because I've trained my mind to know that enough rejection will always lead to some kind of opportunity, some kind of yes.
It's a great way to look at it.
And a door opens. And when you can condition your mind to understand that, and when you look at it as a game, you can love the game. You don't have to love rejection, right? And when you learn how to separate your identity as a human being from the role that you're playing, right? Something I learned very early on, sales trainer that by the way, I had to pay for out of my pocket before I was making any money at 21 years old, but that's a whole nother story. Taught the difference between your identity of who you are, how you feel about yourself as an individual, and then your role, the salesperson, right? When people reject you, they're not rejecting John or Tony, the individual. They're rejecting the role that you're playing, the salesperson, right? So when you learn how to separate that, it's not as hard to take it.
I hope you guys are taking notes here. This is fantastic stuff to learn.
Yeah.
This is a guy that took a team of nothing to over 50 people that sell. They're fucking killers. We're going to get into that in a little bit too, but you guys should be taking notes on anything he says about sales, because he's a sales wizard, we'll say.
Yeah, well, it's always a work in process, right?
Yep.
And I'm always learning, right? It's a journey. So I think, to answer your question about the college degree, I had a lot of credits. I was almost there, but I loved what I was doing, and I started making money. And I was like, I'm going to take a break. and it just so happened that I never went back. And, with that firm, it was a smaller firm up in Albany, and I'm from downstate. And I got to tell you something, guys. I don't know anybody who if people are listeners who are from New York, outside of New York, but those of us in New York understand there's a very clear difference between the mentality or the culture of downstate New York City and the suburbs of Long Island and Westchester County and Albany.
It's a different world. My ex-girlfriend actually went up to Albany, so I'd visit Albany pretty frequently. It's a different animal out there.
No, if you don't have gray hair, nobody up there is talking to you about their money.
No,
right?
They don't care.
Down here, people have a little bit of an open-mindedness to talk to young, hungry, guys that are out there trying to make it work, guys and gals, right? But really, up there, that offered a different, interesting challenge, right? So, long story short, I took, again, experience, right? Proven results. And I wanted to move back down. Things kind of came up. And I ended up taking an opportunity. So one of my girlfriend at the time, right? We were both from downstate New York, and we were living up there. And she was working for a big major pharmaceutical company in pharmaceutical sales. They offered her an opportunity to move down to a New York territory down here.
Okay.
And at the time, I was like, okay, I can do that. That's fine. We'll go. I want to go back home to friends and family. I don't want to be up here in upstate New York. It's, for those of the listeners that don't understand, it's not terribly far, but it's a good 3-hour drive, give or take, right? If you're driving fast like Tony, probably 2. But,
or old man John takes about 4.
but you can get there pretty quick, but it was still enough of a distance to be away from everybody. And so, yeah, forget it. Let's do it. And I this was at the time of the mortgage market. I was like, I like sales. I liked what I was doing, but I had a buddy who was opening up his own mortgage office, and this is the 2006, right? And this was right before everything crashed, but who knew? I was young and stupid. I don't know. I saw these guys making money. I was like, yeah, I can do that with you. So I decided I was going to give him a shot and learn mortgages and go partner up with him, and kind of realized I hit that toward the tail end, and I saw what was really going on. I tell you, I had some clear insight into the subprime mortgage market back then. I was like, this is not going to last, knowing what they were doing, right? And then I found an opportunity with a major banking institution and went the corporate route, and went in there just on the bottom of the ladder, and in sales did really well over there, and ultimately found my calling in leadership and management through them. I spent 8 years there, and I'll tell you, I got in there without a college degree. I got in there because of the sales ability and really more of a determination to be successful. And any type of sales role, I believe that if you can sell, you can do whatever it is that you want, right? And I always knew I wanted to be kind of an entrepreneur, have some level of entrepreneurship. I wanted to be able to build something of my own. But at that time, I didn't realize that I was going into such a corporate structure, right? But I'm a loyal guy, and I liked what I was doing, and I enjoyed the people, and I had an opportunity to build teams there, but ultimately I was always doing it for somebody else. You know, the big bad bank, right? And not the bad. They were a great bank, and I love them, and I love the people, and I love what I learned there. But I found after 8 years that it truly wasn't for me. I needed to have more control. I needed to be able to build something as big as I want to build it, that I can say, like, I did this. This is mine, and I built it, and look at the lives that I've impacted. I didn't want people to decide who I could hire. I wanted to be the guy to decide that. Because at the bank, I couldn't take just anybody. They had to fit certain qualifications. But if I saw Tony Pec, I was like, this guy's a killer, and I know that I can make him really successful, but you didn't have the right degree, you didn't have the right background, you didn't have the right experience.
They're not taking me.
I couldn't take a chance on you, right? So
you were limited. It limited you.
Limited me in that respect. It limited my vision of what I wanted to build. And I looked around and finally found the place that I am now. And they gave me an amazing opportunity where I can hire and develop as many people as I want to do, as I can, essentially, every single year. As many as I can keep, right? Because if I'm losing everybody because I'm not doing a good job, that's not going to work out too well for me, right? So I look to be able to take people in an industry now that is challenging, but I believe is the most rewarding industry that there is, because we're truly helping people with their money. We're helping people to make better decisions, because money is just a tool for people to really live the lives that they want to live, right? And we educate and we help people make better decisions, and I also get to provide an opportunity to individuals that can come from nothing and have them make 6 and 7 figure incomes.
Yeah, tell them about that. I love that. How you take people with making how much? You said $20,000 a year.
Look, I've had some people that have come in with, doing jobs where they're waiting tables or whatever it is, but I see something in this person making minimum wage or 20, 30 grand a year, whatever it is, and inside of a couple of years, sometimes even inside of 1 year, they have 6-figure income.
6-figure income.
Yeah.
You're able to turn that switch on inside of them.
Yeah.
But it was there the whole time.
Yeah, it's always there, right?
It's there the whole time. So what do you see as the biggest proponent of what they're missing that they're not able to implement where they are before they come to you, that you're just like, boom, turning the light on, now you're good to go?
That's a great question. I believe that there's a lot of people out there that have tons of ambition, tons of talent, tons of will to be successful, but they're not given the information. They don't understand the opportunities that are out there for them to flourish within.
So they don't know where to take all that energy, you're saying, to put into a vehicle to get them to success.
Or they probably have it in them, and they don't have the people around them to foster that, right? Because if you look at where most people are, is if they come from a background like me, right? My family, by the way, I love them more than anything, right? And I do everything for them. But their scope of vision has been very limited. It was get a job that has good benefits, that's going to pay you X amount, that you could be safe at, right?
I talked about in the last episode about you don't have to embody everything that your parents have. You can love your parents because, like, I embody my dad's hard work ethic and his, empathy. I don't embody his financial views though. You could pick and choose what you want.
Absolutely.
Most people, I think, they get pressured into taking everything, which could be terrible because most people, they're not educated properly, their parents, so they're taking the bad and they're taking the good. But kids don't realize you can filter through that.
Absolutely.
And I don't think people realize it at any point in their lives until it's too late. And they'll be 35 years old and they're saying, well, what the fuck am I doing in my life? I don't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And it's because they somehow innately were pressured by their parents or their family to do that.
Right.
So.
And I want, I'll comment on that and then circle me back to where we were. But one thing that I kind of realized is that you got to remember, guys, especially for the younger, if you're in your 20s right now, or even in your late teens, like you're going into college early, you have to understand that your parents they're kids. Because look, they're not, it doesn't necessarily, just because somebody's 40, 45, 50 years old doesn't mean they've developed a sense of maturity necessarily in all areas of their life. And they just may not have ever been exposed to it, and it's not their fault. And I look at my parents and I know where I've exceeded them from from a mentality standpoint, but I also know that there's parts that I'll never know as much as them, right? And
Your
that's
grandparents
okay.
are an example. You may never be able to love like, that 60,
Right. I don't know that I would ever be able, and hopefully I've taken enough from them.
That
but
you can, but you won't know till you're at that point.
everybody's got something to give. You've got to learn to look at what is it that I want to take from this person, whether that's your parents, your grandparents, friends, people you run into at different jobs. What do I want to take from this person that will be useful for me in my life, and what do I probably don't think will serve me too well?
But doesn't that sound a little selfish with the way you said it too? I want to take from other people what's useful to me. But I think what you're missing to say to people, I know you understand it, I'm just going to bring it out to life for people that are listening in. He doesn't just say to take from them. By him being there, he's giving more inherently. People that look like me and John look and other people that have been on the podcast and other people that will have on the podcast, they look to see the best qualities in people that they can learn from, but they're giving out immense value, whether it's energy, whether it's positivity, whether it's their network, or, me and John met a few weeks ago, and at the end of the conversation, he goes, how can I help you? Well, what can I do for you? What can I do to help? And I said, you got to get on the podcast, absolutely,
Yeah.
But just stuff like that, it's not just about, you can take. People think it's such a negative thing to do. You be willing to take, because you're giving. As long as you're giving, take as much as you want.
Absolutely.
But you also have to be there giving. Don't be there as a shell. You just be like, I need to learn the best from them, and you're all closed off. Just be the best you as you can be at that point in time, and then take the best from other people.
Well, when you do that, Tony, when you give first, your opportunity to receive is so much greater.
You get way more.
You always do, and there's more that you can take away. And I think you can talk about that giving first as a principle in anything in life, whether that's sales, whether that's just relationships, right? If you come from a place of giving, it's okay to take. It's okay to receive, right? And that's another thing. I think a lot of people have blocks in their life where it's not okay for me to receive. It's not okay. I've always got to be somebody who's giving or pleasing others, and it's not okay for me. No, that's the wrong mentality. See, if you're giving, you should be just as good at receiving as you are as giving. Because if you don't receive things, if you don't take away lessons, if you don't look to grow yourself, you don't have as much to give.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's also hard for people that don't know how to receive well. Because you may not be able to receive the bad things from someone, and that may come off abrasive or negative to them, and you're going to push them even further away. And it's going to ruin that relationship or that potential relationship to have, just because you're not open-minded to it. So you got to go into everything with an open mind at the end of the day.
Always.
Because you never know what you can learn. You can learn something from everyone. I don't care who it is. You can learn from the poorest of the poor, the richest of the rich. It's all, you can learn something from them that you did not know before you met them.
Yeah, one thing that goes to that point that I've really actively been working on is don't judge anything.
Yeah.
Like nothing has meaning until you give meaning to it. Everything kind of just is, right?
Well, that's hard. Let's talk about that. I like that. Not about judging anything, especially with all the social media out there nowadays. People are so quick to judge people because all you see are pictures of people, videos, and comments and words. How can you tell people younger? Let's talk to the younger listeners right now. My sister's in high school. I got some of her friends listening. I know that. What do you say to people that do judge inherently just because it's their generation? It's a generational type of judging. What can they do to not judge so quickly? What's a good way to block that?
That's a great way of posing the question. I guess I've just learned to do it intuitively, but if I had to put it into words, number one is it's a choice, right? You have to understand that everything in your life, every decision, every thought that you think is ultimately a choice. And it's also judging people is a habit, right? So you have to be very conscious about it and make an effort to, first of all, say to yourself, I'm not making that commitment that I'm going to look for the best in everybody or in every situation, everything. I'm not going to judge something as good or bad, right? It just is, and I can choose how I'm going to look at it, right? And honestly, look, social media I think has a lot of value and merit, but I also think that there's a lot of, when people judge, look inward first, right? Because typically the things that upset you about others are the reflection of the things that upset you about yourself, right? So I think if you really look to develop yourself and make yourself a better human being, and before you cast judgment on somebody else, look inward, right? And try to understand where somebody might be coming from, right? What are we judging? You look at things people look, we're human beings, right? We make a lot of stupid mistakes normally. Just who we are, right? But you don't know the circumstances that anybody's grown up in. You don't know what their view of the world is. You don't know how damaged, their life might have been prior to. And everybody's just searching for significance, right? Most people are looking for some level of significance, and they're going to get it however they can. So when I think about judging, I try to look at any situation and say, what good can come out of this, right? What good is there here?
It's a mature way to look at it.
I look for the good first. And look, I'm still training myself, Tony. That's not something that...
You're always going to be an act in progress, though.
Right.
And you know that. But that's what successful people think. They're never where they want to be. They're never at the end goal.
Right.
You're going to change your end goal as you go along. But that's the right mentality to have. That's another thing to take away, too. If you think you got it all and you know it all, guess what? You don't know shit. Because that's completely the wrong attitude to have. You have to have that constantly growing mindset.
You know, the idea that the best leaders are perpetual students, I think goes so far, right? You have to understand that having a high willingness to learn and a high willingness to accept change are two key components to becoming a high performer in anything. Because what's the only thing that's constant in this life? It's change.
Yeah.
No matter what, the only thing that is constant is that there is always change. So you got to be prepared for that, right? You got to always be willing to learn.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before. You can't leave a 9-to-5 and want to go become an entrepreneur and start your own business if you are a terrible employee. Terrible employees make terrible leaders. They're not able to lead. If you are an exceptional employee, you're embodying a lot of traits that you can carry on to become an exceptional leader. And that's exactly what you said with you can't be a leader unless you're a student, which I think goes hand in hand with that whole, what I think is true in society, that a lot of people that have businesses that fail, the 9-to-5 employees that are bitter and they don't do well in the 9-to-5, then they go and start a business, and guess what? That business fails because they take the same exact traits that they had in the 9-to-5 and they just apply it to their own business, and they think they're going to be successful doing that.
You're 100% right, and I look at some of the things that have changed my way of thinking. And I was very much against. You look at a lot of the stuff that they, it's all new age woo woo stuff. And, you know what, man? It's really not. You know, there's some science to everything behind all this stuff you hear about law of attraction, and there is scientific proof from a metaphysical level. All these different types of things that are out there, and the book that truly changed my life. And this also, I'll share another piece of advice for everybody. Right? I look back and I say, well, what made me different than all the others that kind of started where I did and aren't where I am now? And I got so far to go, right? But if you look at, I've accomplished some things, I'm growing, I'm trying to get better every day. But what was different was, here's a simple story, okay? So back in my first financial planning firm that I was with, we had a gentleman. It was a smaller office, right? I think maybe we had a total of 30 people or so, right, in the entire office, right? And we didn't have a training for sales. We had to hire an outside sales consultant that came in and did that, right? So I had to pay for him, right? Because I was basically in business for myself at that time, but I was underneath the umbrella of this firm, and I was able to operate under them. And I had to pay, and I was 21 years old, and it was costing me $150 a month for me to have a guy come in once a month, do an all-day class, and then be available for phone calls if I needed him for coaching and that type of thing. But many people that were in the new class, right, that when I came in, they didn't spend the money on it. There's only 4 of us out of that whole group that actually spent money on this training class, right? So that's one thing, right? You got to invest in yourself, and if you got to invest in your business, right, and develop yourself there. That's one thing. But not even that was, I took the step there. But he used to fly up from Long Island to Albany Airport just for the day, right? And he didn't have a car, right? So I offered, right, to drive him back to the airport one day. So I got him alone in the car. It was just me and him. Yeah. And I said, well, his name was Glenn. And I said, hey, Glenn, I'm 21 years old. I want to be really successful. What's one thing you can recommend that I do? I was like, you got to read. I was like, read? He's like, yeah, you got to read books. You got to fill your mind. You can learn from others that have already done it.
It's like a crazy idea to a college kid. That's the funniest part here. Right? You got to read what?
I was like, so what books? He's like, all right, so he writes these things down. I remember very specifically, he gave me one. The first thing he said was like, anything by Napoleon Hill.
Think
right?
and Grow Rich. Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich was the first one, right, that I picked up. He said there was a book called, it was by Wayne Dyer, Your Erroneous Zones, which I, that was interesting. And then he also said, what do you say when you talk to yourself? That's another book, and that's by Shad Helmstetter. And I dropped him off at the airport, and immediately after I dropped him off, I went to Borders or Barnes & Nobles, whatever it was. I don't think Borders exists anymore, but went to the bookstore. I bought all 3 of those books. I bought Think and Grow Rich and the other 2. And the first book I read was Think and Grow Rich.
But you just said something that most people don't do. One, you offered to take him to the airport, which I would have did the same thing, just out of being a genuinely nice human being, you know? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is right after that you went to the bookstore and you took action and you bought the books. Most people don't put a little trigger on that.
What are you teasing out of that, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. It's you got to take action.
You got to take action. At the end of the day, we can tell you stuff till you're blue in the face. Anyone that's listening in, you guys can listen to me. You can listen to Gary Vee. You can listen to Grant. You can listen to whoever the fuck you want to listen to. Nothing's going to happen if you don't take action. That's what it comes down to.
Guys, and I'm like, this is a really simple formula.
Yeah,
right?
He just told you to read.
It's like, okay, do a little bit. So one, do more than you're paid for, right? Go out there and do it. I'm paying this guy and I'm driving him to the airport.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm paying him for his services and then I'm driving him to the airport. Like, how many people, if you have the mindset to say, no, I'm not, like...
Because you knew you could learn from him.
Right.
You know, you jumped on that was an opportunity. See, that's another thing. People don't see everything as an opportunity. And in this day and age, especially, everything's a fucking opportunity out there. No matter what it is, there's an opportunity in any situation you look at. It can be a fucking terrible, negative situation. There's an opportunity present. You just have to look for it, and you have to train your mind. Like you said, train your mind to see the opportunity anywhere you are and anything you're doing.
Yep.
And you saw it right there at a young age. You fucking jumped right on that. But then you went to the bookstore and you bought the books.
And that was a differentiator, right? Because when you know, your guys are going to get so much knowledge listening to Tony's. I love every guest that he's had on so far, and I'm looking forward to the other ones that are coming after me. But I look forward to learning opportunities. And if you don't take even one or 2 things, just even one, never mind 2, 3, 4, 5, one thing that you hear from some of these people who've had some levels of success in their life, and then make a plan to take action on that one thing, you're missing the boat. Because you can think and visualize and do all the things that you want, but there's another ingredient, and that's the action. And that doesn't matter if you fail. Taking action is a positive reinforcement to your own mind's way of building belief. Because the truth is, by you taking action, subconsciously you're creating the neural pathways of belief, because you have to have some level of belief to take action, right?
Yep.
So it's a feedback loop. And you know, I go through these things and I look at some of the formulas that I teach some of my reps, that when I take them on, like there's a couple of, 5 or 6 things that I think you really need. And it's, first and foremost, you got to have vision, right? You got to have a vision for what you want. You got to get crystal clear about what it is that you desire and that you want to accomplish. But behind the vision, once you crystallize that, you need to have a strong level of belief that, 1, belief in yourself, 2, belief that you can accomplish that thing. And sometimes you don't have that immediately, and you've got to do exercises and things to build that.
To make it a genuine belief. Like, you actually have to innately
And by the way,
believe.
if you tell yourself something often enough, right, you tell yourself a lie long enough,
you're gonna
start to
believe
believe it, right? And that's the truth. So
it's
you hear
like,
about fake it till you make
it.
it.
I was going to say, I like to say, you become who you think you are.
100%.
I think that's a better way of saying fake it till you make it. That just sounds fucking negative, and people will be like, oh, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
You become who you think you are. That's what it is. Plain and simple.
Yep. Because you're going to build a belief about who you are, and then you're going to start taking the actions, doing the things that are going to be congruent with that belief, right? So you have to have belief, but belief still isn't enough, right? The next ingredient, I believe, is disciplined action, right? I used to just call it discipline, but I don't think I was clear enough. Like, the discipline is about taking action, right? So it's disciplined action, doing the things that you hate doing them, doing those things that you hate doing, but doing them like you love doing them, right? And I kind of stole that from Mike Tyson. I heard him talk about that.
Now, you said that. Doing things you hate doing, but doing them like you love them. Now, the only reason I already know why you're able to do that, because people listening, they're like, this guy's a fucking lunatic. He's doing things he hates, but he's doing them like he loves them. That's because John hates what he can't have if he didn't do those negative things, but he loves more the thing he can't get by doing those things he hates. That's what it is. You have a greater love or a greater desire, let's say, for what it will benefit you,
right?
What will happen.
So and that all goes back. That all goes back to your vision, right? Yeah. So if you have a strong enough why, right, you can find any how, right? You can tolerate any how, right? And that's where the discipline comes into doing things that you might not want to do. And I'll talk about some cool stuff that I've been disciplining myself to do in a little bit. But disciplined action is there. But I think even disciplined action, right? You can get beat up left and right. And if you don't have the next ingredient, what I call grit, right, or perseverance, right, you're gonna quit, right? Grit is all about not quitting. That's just understanding that I'm gonna do whatever it takes to achieve what it is that I'm looking to achieve, to make that vision a reality. And I don't care how many times I'm going to fall down, I'm going to get back up at least one more time, right? And if you have that mentality, that's the biggest separator, I think, from success and failure, is those that view, there's a difference between failing and failure. See, failing's okay, because failing means you're going to keep trying and you're going to keep going. You're only a failure when you give up, right? And I think that if you have those ingredients and then you add one crucial piece that I don't think a lot of people talk about, see, a lot of this stuff is very individual, it's very much personal, and you can control it. But if you don't have the right support around you, you don't have the right team, you don't have whatever you want to call it, mastermind, whatever it is, you will never reach the heights of success that you're capable of, because one, if you don't have support, you have people that just puts a lot of weight on you, right? But if you don't have the right support, you're never going to get to the levels that you can possibly get to, because everything in this world is about relationships. And if you have the right support systems and teams in place and people to help push you forward, that I believe is the missing link for a lot of people that are trying to always go out there and do it on their own and saying, I could do it, batting their chest, but you know what? It's not about you. You know what? No matter how great you are, there's always going to be somebody better than you at any particular thing. So why not try to leverage the resources of others to be able to help propel you to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, and in turn, you're probably helping those individuals. And how many other people are you impacting by having that multiplier effect of working with others that have a like-minded cause, or like a mindset that's aligned with yours, right?
Yeah, there's two things you said right there that I think, if you are not the smartest, if you're not the best in any field that you want to be, if you lack knowledge, if you lack anything, you just know you're not where you want to be, but you see the people that you want to be like, there's two factors to get you there. And there's two factors to keep you away from the competition around you. The first one you said is just the straight hustle and grind, just the grit. You just keep on going. But the second one, like you said, it's very overlooked, is your network. That is something those are two things you control. You control how much effort you put in, how much grind you're able to give daily, and you control how much of a network you're able to make. I'm turning 24 this Sunday, actually. And my network has now...
Birthday,
thank you. Salute. See, there we go. And my network has just hit $1 billion. I know people that have amassed, in total, $1 billion worth of wealth. I'm going to be 24 years old. That's not by accident. That's by me taking conscious steps and action to make that network possible. It's not an easy thing to do. But like you said, that's something so small that has such a gigantic impact that forever I'll be changed for just because of what I've done in the past already if I stopped. But I'm not anywhere near close to stopping. And I know you're thinking the same thing too. Between the grind and the network, and that's just something that you can continue. And that's a differentiating factor. That's what separates you. And it's something that you can be on the street. You can be homeless. You can grind and you can network. Go buy a squeegee, throw some water in the fucking windshield, clean it, and then say, hey, if you'd like to tip me. If not, maybe you fucking make a network out of it. It's that simple. To the root of you have nothing in your pocket, you can do that.
It is really simple, but it's not easy. Right?
That's what it is, man.
Because people don't. It all goes back to your belief systems, right? And that's the biggest thing to change. And I'll tell everybody out there that if you are hearing some of these things and you're like, I could never do that. Your first step is to surround yourself with people who have done it. Okay, because that'll change your belief. Because you need to be able to see it. I never could dream of. And look, I'm not the guy who's going to go out and necessarily chase fancy stuff. I want to have a certain level of lifestyle, and I'm happy with the material things. What I'm looking more, what really gets me going is building something, right? And then having greater impact. And I just when I talk about material things, it's only because it's just kind of like a thing to say, hey, when I was younger, I didn't ever think I could have those types of things, right? You look at, having money in the bank where you don't have to worry about. And when I say in the bank, I really mean investments, right? Because if you have too much money in the bank, that's just stupid, right? In a savings account. But, when you have money saved to the point where you don't really need to work anymore and you can still live a comfortable lifestyle, and working just becomes, something that you're doing because you enjoy it, right? that I never would have dreamed was even possible, right? To drive even a Mercedes, which is nothing even crazy, but I was like, I used to look at Mercedes and BMW, people driving around like
that's out of reach.
That's out of reach, right? Because I didn't know.
It's impossible. That's what same thing with the Maserati. People said it was impossible.
Right?
But then what happens when you do achieve it? How much more impossible things can you achieve now?
What's next? Like I saw this thing, you see this thing that you want, whether it's some kind of a material possession like a watch or a house or a car,
and like it's so hard to get.
It's so hard to get, right? You're thinking, and then you switch your mindset and you start to realize, well, hey, there's millions of people who've been able to do that, and what does it take? And it's all
what's the difference,
right? And you can see it. It's funny. It's like everything that I have in my life, whether that's material or even just the person I've become, I created that.
Yeah,
I created it in my head first, right?
Yeah,
I saw it there.
Yep. You visualized it.
Saw it there, and honestly, for a while, I didn't always know that you can actively participate in your visualization process, right? I just thought it was daydreaming and it's going to happen, but you can actually direct the course of your life by being conscious and intentional about what it is that you want, and then creating that vision in your mind and spending time on it,
focusing on it,
and it all comes to be, and it comes down to from the girlfriends to the wife that I have today, right? And I look back at my wife is exactly what I pictured as a person, from the way she looks to the way that she is from a personality standpoint.
Because you pictured it, and
because
you thought
I
about
pictured that and thought about it, and somehow through synchronicity, right, our paths crossed. And when you hear the whole story about that, maybe one day I'll share it, right? It can't be just coincidence.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Same thing with me with the car too. I would go test drive the car till I got it. I felt it. I knew what I wanted, and I think that's a huge proponent in most successful people's lives. That strong sense of being able to visualize what they want in any aspect of life. Literally, like what you said, your wife. You can do that with anything. People completely just don't even think of that as a thing or as a possibility because it sounds like witchcraft pretty much.
It does sound that way, right?
Right? You're visualizing your wife, and all of a sudden you get exactly what you're thinking of. It sounds crazy. It's like a fucking madman.
And I can tell you from, like, you can literally, like, I could have described her to the T. And
you would have just pulled away a curtain, she would have been right there, yeah.
And it's funny, when I met her, I was like, this is the one I'm going to marry. This is exactly it.
Yeah,
and I knew it, right? And I knew it right away. So, we've got the first kid on the way, coming in any day now, right?
Soon, there we go, yep.
Due date's a month from tomorrow.
I had to push him in to get to this podcast episode, by the way, guys, so you guys better thank him for being on the show. Well, I know you. Now, guys, it sounds like John talks himself down a lot. He's saying how great the guest... John is literally on the same caliber, if not more than some of the guests that I've had on already in the past. John is a very humble guy. He is an absolute fucking killer. Like I said, he's a leader of leaders. And John's one of the guys I look up to. I look up to you, financially, emotionally, intelligently. You're a lot of things that I can see myself wanting to become. And I know you've stretched a lot of time and effort into becoming where you are now. And I know you have a lot more to go. And that's one of the things I, respect about you is that you want more still. And I see how much you have already accumulated. And I think that what John does by playing himself down is what a lot of successful people will do innately, because John doesn't believe he's there yet. So you're playing yourself down just because it's like, well, yeah, I have this, but I'm so further away from my end goal. So John's talking himself down, but John is a big fucking deal, guys. John is no joke. I should be paying John for sitting here right now. But, we appreciate him coming out here and taking his time to do this.
You are paying me, man. Yeah. This is not with money, right?
No, money.
It's really with experience, and I think that's really what... And honestly, this fills my soul, right? Having these conversations with you, and I look at a guy like you, and I don't know if everybody... obviously nobody knows this, and, I was trying to get Tony to be part of my team 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was literally going to bring that up. Let's talk about that. So 2 years ago, my good friend Fran Volpe, he started working at the company that John is at currently, and Fran tells me, hey, I was trading stocks and I was doing Instagram. Why don't you come check out, see if you want to work with us over here, be part of the team? I go, yeah, that sounds pretty fucking cool. I want to work with Fran. Fran's the man. So Fran brings me into the office and I meet John. And it was kind of like an interview process. And I remember distinctly, I told you this too. I said to John, I'm not here because I need to be here. I don't need this job. I'm here because I want to be here. And John looked at me, he's like, Fran, you brought something in here. I don't know what it is, but you brought something in here. And it's funny because 2 years ago, I ended up not pursuing that. Fran ended up getting hurt, and he actually left because medical leave. So I was like, well, I want to do it with Fran, so we never ended up doing it. And 2 years go by now, almost the 2 year mark, the summertime. And me and John have become great friends, and he's on this podcast doing an episode with me. And this is someone that I was in an interview with.
Yeah.
And it became more than that. And I take that away from everything I do with networking as well. I'll go to networking places like the cigar lounges, and people offer me jobs, and I'll turn them down, and we become greater friends, and we actually end up doing business in the future that ends up accumulating more for one of us than the job would for both of us. So I would love to hear what you had to say about that from 2 years ago to now, the turning point of how we stayed and why we stayed in touch, and why this whole comes around 2 years from now, and why was Tony,
Yeah, I think it's very much probably, if I look at it and analyze it now, I think it's both in our personalities to take action and never take a relationship for granted. And I was thoroughly impressed with you. This is a guy who's a real person, right? He's not putting on a show for me, and I appreciated that. And all those qualities that I look for in people, you had them. And I was like, this guy could be a part of my team. This guy can crush it, right? And I was like, I just, you know what? I like this guy, right? And I want to tell, like, to go back to that, you go back to Think and Grow Rich. And one of the principles inside of Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill's, there's different versions, like 16 laws of success. So if you look at the law of success in 16 lessons, and they've done different versions of it, if you guys are looking it up, it might be 14, it might be 18, because they've added and taken some, but the one that I know is the law of success in 16 lessons. And one of those laws is develop a pleasing personality, right? And what that is, get people to like you, right? And if people like you and respect you for who you are, that's going to take you a long way. And that's one of the things that I was like, I like Tony. I was like, I want to be around him, right? So that's not something that necessarily comes innately.
No.
You can develop that, right? And really it just comes by understanding interpersonal relationships and taking an interest in others. And by the way, guys, how many, if you ask people to tell you their story and you ask questions, how many people actually get an opportunity in today's day and age, as fast-paced as it is, to sit back and just speak their mind?
They don't.
For 20 or 30 minutes, right? You want the quickest way to get people to like you?
Ask them questions.
Ask them questions.
Let them talk about themselves. Do not talk about yourself.
Yep.
That's what I do in the cigar lounges, and it works like a charm. And it's not even to do it like to steal that away from me. Then I'm learning from them. It's a good thing to do. Like you are learning from them, and they love people just love telling the story.
Yep.
Like you said, no one does that.
Because nobody's listening to them.
No
right?
one gives a fuck.
Half the time they're think about the divorce rate, right? Their wife doesn't listen to them. Their husband doesn't listen to them. So I mean, it's an opportunity. You want to separate yourself, ask the right questions, and get people to talk and open up, and they're going to like you automatically. That's the way it works. And I think we just, we hit it off, and after a while, realized that maybe the stars weren't going to align for that opportunity, but I always want to stay in touch. And I think we both put an effort in to shoot a text message here and there, keep each other in the loop for different things. How's it going? And, honestly, like a couple of years might have gone by before we saw each other again, but when we see each other face to face, it was like we didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, picked right off where we left off.
And I think that was really interesting, and I give you a lot of credit for that, because
Thank you.
Being a genuine, authentic individual, whoever you are, right? Like, I'm not saying for anybody. I think that's the easiest way to be, because if you're always yourself, then you're never faking anything.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, I have brought myself up to being able to wear the tracksuits in places that you cannot wear tracksuits. You can't wear anything but suits. Yeah. But Tony Pec is allowed to go in there with a tracksuit because it's Tony Pec. Tony Pec is a likable guy, and like I said, I brought myself up to that point. You mentioned that. That's not something, I wasn't born being able to be a likable person. I was picked on as a kid in grammar school. I was fat, and I was shy, and I was more introverted than I am extroverted by nature. But I found out who I was first. So I think that's the first part. Picking a purpose, finding out exactly who you are. Yeah. That helps you become genuine and authentic. And then at that point, you start to see what qualities that you can disperse onto others that people like. So I realized quickly, people like talking about themselves. Just let them talk about themselves and just be you. So I'm not going to put a filter on. I'm not going to not curse anywhere I am. That's Tony Pec. That's who I am. But I'm going to go in there, and I know what people like. People like talking about themselves, like you said. That's things people just don't think about. They overlook humanity. You have to humanize every person. You want to talk to and meet a billionaire, you have to humanize him. He's a fucking person. And I'm sure you deal with high-ticket clients all the time. But I'm sure you level with them the same way you talk to me, because you can't put them on a pedestal, one, because if you're putting them on a pedestal, I'm sure you're putting people below that on a lesser pedestal, so it kind of, gets all fucked up. So you talk to everyone in the same light, because you know who you are, you're genuine, you're authentic, you have a vision, you know your purpose, and then you're able to just know what people like. Yeah. But that's because you made a conscious effort to do that, to study that, to know, to care.
And you also get to choose, right? Yeah. Who you want to have in your life as a relationship. And it's funny you say that. Yeah, one of the things I realized in working with some of the wealthiest people in New York City, I mean, I've had opportunities to have them as clients and in different capacities. And, one of the things that I realized is that some of them, they want to treat you badly. They want to treat you like you're below them, and they want, they want you to be this,
You're appeasing
kiss
them.
their ass, right, so to speak. And those are people that I just choose not to do business with, right? But there's many of them, right, especially those that have made it themselves and they haven't inherited it and they aren't just taking over mommy and daddy's thing, right? Self-made wealthy individuals that just want to talk to you as a person.
Yeah.
They don't want to be treated differently. And that's what I found most of it is that when you can level with them and be yourself and connect, that's the differentiating factor, and not try to tell them a story or pitch a product or do whatever it is. It's like, what's important? What do you want out of life? What are you trying to accomplish? Yeah. And just be a real person and talk about the baseball game that your kids are going to, talk about the things that are important to them. And when, on a sales concept, right? You just by asking the right questions, you can really uncover what's important and what other people value. And then you can figure out what do I know about those topics that I can build some rapport with this person about. And all of a sudden, once you're in rapport, right?
Boom, you're good.
Now it's easier to start moving through the sales process. So, become well-versed in a lot of different things. You don't have, or let's say mildly well-versed, right? You don't have to be an expert, but know enough to have a conversation about a lot of different subjects. Gives you much more of an opportunity to connect with more people and, start taking yourself out of your comfort zone and doing things that you don't want to do. I didn't know anything about, I don't like skiing.
Fucking learn.
But I go out and I do it because some guys want to talk about skiing, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Golfing. I never golfed. Yeah. Okay?
Oh, how much is the membership at your golf club?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on. Tell the audience. They want to hear this.
I don't know. I think the initiation's like $80,000 or something like that to get in.
$80,000, a drop in the water for Mr. Old Man John Salina here.
I don't know.
But you know what? He did that because he saw that as an investment into his business. And that's the same thing I do with the cigar lounges. I don't pay for the memberships now at two of the lounges I'm at just because I build a rapport with them. But I did it at the beginning. It's a few $1,000s a year I shell out. Why? Because it's an investment into myself. And that's what you see it as. So that's another thing, too. Yeah, he spent $80,000 for a one-time initiation fee for something he doesn't even know how to do. But you didn't do it to be like, hey, I got my high-ticket thing. I'm going to go golf now. You did it because I know who goes and golfs there. I know I can take my high-ticket clients here. They'll be happy being here, and I can meet more people that will pay my membership back and more. Well, which I'm sure it might have even done for you already by now. Many times over, honestly.
Well, it's, that's the thing. And you know what, I want to speak on that, too. It's really not about investing so much, like those things are investing in your business to be around the network, right? And sometimes it costs money, but you don't need money to do those things. No. You can do that in a cigar lounge, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people. I mean, you and I have both been to similar lounges where you're talking to literally mayors and high profile politicians that are sitting right next to you, and really you're just a 23-year-old kid, and
literally
they don't, like, you must be doing something right to be in there with
exactly
them, right?
That's how they all view you,
and they treat you like like you're on their level, right?
That's all it is.
And that's all it is about perception. So I will say is that investing in yourself to always get better is critical. And I think I mentioned to you last time that we were talking, I recently hired a coach, right?
Oh, I love this, guys. John told me this last time we were having a cigar. And like I said, I hold John in a high light. I really do. I mean that with the bottom of my heart, man. I really think you're something spectacular. Like I said, you're one of those people that just you're there. Like Tony Robbins to me. Like you know what you're there, you're on. And John goes ahead and tells me, after talking to me for like an hour, he's like, I got a coach. I was like, what? You got a coach. You, out of all people, what the fuck do you need a coach for? So please tell them what you need a coach for, because I think what you said to me about why you need it, I took so much away from that.
Well, see if I can remember exactly what I told you.
It doesn't have to be exact, but the reason you actually got it.
I think that as good as anybody can get, you always have blind spots. And for me, there's two reasons, right? One is that I'm always in go mode. I've always got something to do. So the more responsibility you take on, and if you achieve levels of success, you're going to have more responsibility, and there's more demands on your time, right? And what usually suffers for most people when there's more demands on your time is the time for yourself to take a look and reflect, evaluate what you need, what you've done, where you've come from, what you need to do moving forward, to take the time personally to say, here's what I need to do and what I want to do, and here's how I'm going to do it, right? Because you're always doing for others. Because I believe most people are very successful are doing a lot for others, right? Yeah. And then you have many demands on your time. So I realized that if I'm going to take things to the next level, what got me here won't get me there, right? So the things that got me here are not the same things that are going to get me there. And I need somebody who all they do every day is work with people that are high performers, that are at the top of their game, and they're going to be able to see the commonalities, the common pitfalls, the things that are working for others, and be able to share that with me in my day-to-day. That's invaluable to me, right? So whatever that investment is, to pay 10 or 20 grand a year just to hire a personal coach that you meet with once every 2 weeks in person and have an ongoing dialogue through text and phone calls if I need them, right? And who gives you exercises and things that you need to do to take your life to the next level. And it was also about balance, right? Because I think if you become very focused on success in business, that tends to consume you. How many wealthy people have you met that are completely out of balance in every other part of their life?
Absolutely. I would say about 60% of them, honestly. I'd say only 40% have the balance, the fine balance that people look for.
Yeah.
Well,
then I need to hang out with more of your crowd, because what I found is that most of the people that are wealthy that I know, it's probably less than 20% that really have the quality of life in all areas of their life. Because if their business and career is doing really well, you know what's typically suffering?
Family life.
And even if that family life is going pretty well,
Leisure
their health
life
isn't so great.
Yeah.
Their hobbies and their passions, they don't have a lot going on. They spirituality, right? All that stuff isn't always there, right? And
things that they want that they're just like, oh, maybe I don't want it now. You know, they kind of push it away.
Well, it's funny, right? We sacrifice our health to gain material things, and we accumulate all this wealth, and then we got to spend all that wealth to try to get our health back. Right?
Yep.
So you think about these things and what's really important in life, and contribution. And contribution and I think is really the highest level of where you want to get. And when I found I found this coach, and I wanted to find a guy that I could really connect with, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and I just didn't take the steps until, again, call it coincidence, call it divine intervention, call it law of attraction, whatever it is. I was really thinking about it because I know I was coming through a very important time in my life from a career standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and I was like, I need somebody to help me take it to the next level. And lo and behold, this gentleman shows up, has so much in common. His background is very similar to mine. And I was like, this is a guy that I know. This is what he does every single day, who's going to keep me honest and make me take the time. Now, every 2 weeks, I carve out 2 hours a week to talk to him and go through our session, right? Now, for me, I don't know if it might not sound like that's a lot, but to carve 2 hours out on a Friday,
that's a lot for you. No, it's absolutely. This is a lot for you right now.
To focus on me.
That's
right?
true for you. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? What better investment? I don't care how much money it costs me, because I will make that back
tenfold
if he does what I think he's going to do for me. And I'll share with you a couple things that I've implemented. And by the way, guys, I just started this 2 weeks ago, so you're getting a very fresh start on this. But what I've changed in my life in the last 2 weeks, I've already seen impacts. Right before I came here, I just closed a deal that's going to make like 50 grand. One deal, right?
Ooh, there we go.
Right? For one of my reps.
And you took something that he taught you and you implemented it.
It all came about because of the trajectory that came from just what we did, right? So tell me right there, I just made back five times my investment over, from a 6-month period. So, you look at this stuff and it's like, I don't think I would have done what I did had I not had that opportunity to talk to him, right? So, we look at it and it's interesting because he's helped me to realize that all the things that I know, and I think what you'll understand is like, you may know things intuitively, but if you don't take the time to be intentional about it and take time for yourself to plan, to create the vision, realize where you are right now, how far are you away from where you really want to be in any aspect of your life, whether that's career, your love life, your health and fitness, your spirituality, right? Your hobbies and passions, right? And in some other areas that are probably family and relationships, right? If you're missing anything there, you're not living your life to its fullest potential. Because I don't care if you got $1 billion, right? If you don't have all the other pieces, what is life really all about? And I've realized in talking to him in just the 2 weeks that I'm such a results-oriented individual. I just want to get to the result, get to the result, get to the result. And here's another thing: if you guys study personality types, I'm not sure what the model's name is, but you have really 4 types of personalities. And anybody that's listening to this, you'll know what I'm talking about. You have your expressives, right? The people that that are very animated. They love to talk. They're social butterflies. They kind of want to get out there.
The Italians.
Tony Pec, right? Right? But you have the expressives that want to just connect, right? And that's what they value, right? Those types of individuals. Then you have your analyticals, right? People that just want to get to the numbers. They want to evaluate. They want to analyze. They're not necessarily they're not so much into relationships and warm and fuzzy, right? It's numbers, make it make sense, that type of stuff. And then you have an amiable personality type, who's the people that kind of very resistant to change. They're kind of go with the flow. They're very reserved, right? They don't like change. They want to be reassured about things, right? And then you have your drivers, right? And the drivers are those that are just like, let's get to the point. I want the result. Those are typically your people that are leaders, business owners. Drivers tend to gravitate towards those things. They're like, don't give me the extra details, big picture, let's get to the result that, right? Yep. If you put me on the scale of like out of 10, where I'm going to be, I'm a 10 out of 10 driver all the time, right? Now, I've developed other qualities through what I've done, but I realize that being results-oriented the way that I am, I miss out on the enjoyment and joy in life, right? And this coach has helped me to realize, like, sometimes I sacrifice the joy of the process, right? And when I hit a goal, I'm immediately on to the next thing, immediately there, thinking about what's next. I never take a minute to enjoy what I just accomplished. Right?
I see. That's funny you say that, and you, the fact that you just pointed that as kind of like a flaw to you in a way.
Of course.
I think the same way, and I always thought, maybe because that's the way I thought. Maybe I thought of it because I thought in my head that people that were successful, that's how they think. That once you achieve something, what's the next one you're getting? And that's how I always thought too. Because like I think that's what I relate to success to. I never thought it was a bad thing. It's just like, okay, like I got the Maserati, when's the Ferrari? Or I just hit 100,000, when's $250,000? It's just the day of. Yep. I barely get to soak in the enjoyment of it. I always want more.
So what's the point?
I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Think about it. Are you fulfilled?
Or are you just chasing I enjoy the journey.
Or are you just chasing something you're never going to get?
I enjoy the process.
Then you do, right?
I thoroughly enjoy the process. Yeah. I like the difficulties. I like the small little victories along the way. I like the big impact you can start slowly making as you snowball and get bigger.
Now, that's a level of maturity that a lot of people don't have, and even I've lost sight of in times in my life where I don't always enjoy the process, or because I don't take the time to consciously enjoy the process. Gotcha. I'm always looking to get to the result. Okay. And the thing that I'm talking about here is, if you can always enjoy the process, you can immediately move on to that next goal. And I'm not ever saying to stop moving the needle forward, right? But what I am saying is that you have to take time and be grateful for what it is that where you've come from and have accomplished, and have joy in the process. Because ultimately, if you tie your happiness to the attainment of a specific objective, you'll never actually reach happiness, because the truth is you get to the objective and you're on to the next one. So as long as you can tie your happiness to the process, so you have to, and this is one thing the coach gave me a really great quote. He said, you have to fall in love with the process of becoming great.
Not actually being great, or actually when you get to becoming great.
You'll never be great, like, because in your mind you're never going to be great.
That's true.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So if you can fall in love with the process of becoming great, then, and that, when I say great, I mean in all aspects of life. Then you can truly enjoy life and live in the present moment. So one of the things that I've actually taken time to do now was he gave a great book to read, and it had something to do with, I've always had a pretty good morning routine, right? I learned early on that if you wake up early, I looked at a lot of successful people, and the vast majority of them wake up sometime between 5 and 6 a.m., right? So I implemented that pretty early on. It was pretty typical about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe 5:30, and working out, right, or something like that, but get my day started and getting it going. But I never took the time to feed my mind, my soul, things like that. I would take care of my body in the morning. And then I kind of realized, was like, you know what, I might need to get up earlier. And I was like, I can never get up at 4 a.m. But I kind of looked at it and said, if I'm going to do all the things I want to do, I need to start waking up at 4 a.m. Yeah. So I made a conscious decision, a little over about 2 weeks ago. So one day I'm going to wake up at 4, and here's what I'm going to do, right? So now my morning routine is I get up at 4 a.m. Boom. No hitting the snooze button. That hits 4 a.m., I'm up. I'm out of bed. First thing I do, drink a big glass of water, right? right? You got to rehydrate first thing in the morning when you wake up. Pop some vitamins. I take some things that I want to take in the morning. Still on an empty stomach though. Make a quick cup of coffee, right? Because I just enjoy coffee. Maybe one day I won't need the caffeine. I don't know, but I like coffee, right? And then within 7 minutes, right? All that's done. 4:07. I'm spending 10 minutes and I'm meditating. So for 10 minutes, I meditate. Take time to clear my mind. Take time to just kind of be, right? Next 10 minutes after that, I read. I take 10 minutes to consciously read something that I know is going to advance me toward what I'm looking to become, right? Next 10 minutes, affirmations. Spend 10 minutes doing affirmations that, or if you guys that don't know what affirmations are, it's just stating something in the present tense that are positive, that is who you are, who you want to become, but stating in the present tense and doing it with feeling and emotion, because what you're doing is you're building neural pathways in your brain to be able to think that way, and you're going to be able to see things and see opportunities that are related, because that's you are what you think about most of the time, right? So that I do 10 minutes of affirmations, and I take 10 minutes and I visualize. What is it that I'm looking to accomplish? What do I want? And I see it. And I create this vision in really crystal clear pictures like a movie, and you try to make it bright, and you try to make the feeling, the sounds, the taste, you try to engage all your senses with it. And it's almost like you're living it, right? Because your mind cannot tell the difference. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and something that's vividly imagined, right? So you can actually
Keyword,
bring it out.
Vividly imagined. Vividly, yep.
Right? So you got to work that muscle out. And the more you do it, the better you can get at that. And then finally, that's when I'm done with all those. I think there was 5 things.
Yep.
Then I go ahead and I exercise, and I try to get about 45 minutes in the morning.
Now you're at about 5:45 by the time you're done with
that? Yeah,
that?
probably I'm done with all that by 6 a.m. So before 5:30 in the morning, now I've done more than most people do in their entire day.
The entire day, yeah, absolutely.
Probably more than most people do in their entire week.
Yeah. And you're on
for
now.
Self-development.
And now by the time you're rolling into the office,
you're on.
You're on. You're not...
It's game on, man. I'm in there. I'm ready to go. I can have any conversation that needs to be had, the toughest ones. I can motivate. I can inspire. And I'm ready to go. And honestly, I go to bed at 10:30.
I was going to say, how late do you go to bed?
I don't go to sleep, go to bed super late.
Yeah.
But I used to, 10:30, right? And I'm up at 4, so I'm getting 5.5 hours of sleep.
Is that all it is? Yeah. Yeah, fuck, you're right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
5.5 hours of sleep a night, but I've got more energy than I've ever had.
Yeah.
So you tell me, do you need 8 hours of sleep?
I sleep. I go to bed around 1 to 2 in the morning. I wake up for 6.
Yeah.
I try to get right before 6, like 5:45.
Yeah.
5's hard for me. 5's just hard.
When you go to bed at 2 in the morning, it's going to be tough.
Because I just shake at night. I get I'll think of something. I'm like, fuck, I gotta go gun ho. It's 11 o'clock at night. I got another 2 hours in me. That's why I like midnight motivation. So I call it that, because I'm one of those late night owls. That's just how I am. I don't know.
Look, and look, a lot of people that are hustling are late night people. But I gotta be honest with you, man. I don't know if I'd be able to function on 3 hours of sleep. So
I'm on about 4 or 5. I'm about 4 or 5.
Yeah, but I think that if you take some time and just take some time for yourself every day, right? Because you cannot impact others until you become the best version of yourself.
Thank God someone else has said this, because I think of that fully when I look at relationships. You can't fully give yourself to someone if you do not know who you are, if you don't fully know who you are. And people just completely, I want to get married, I want to get a relationship, I want to have a boyfriend, I want to have a girlfriend, whatever it is, but you don't even know who you are yet. You're doing yourself and the significant other a disservice by just jumping into stuff at the wrong point in your life. How about you focus on yourself first? If you can figure out yourself, you're able to give so much more to another person. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but you just said it too, so at least I'm not fucking crazy. But I know a lot of other people think that perform at high levels like us. So I think there's something to be said just in that little aspect that a lot of people just completely disregard. I think the way we think, we carry over to every aspect of life, which is something hard to do, and it's very unique. And guys, if you're listening, guys, girls, whoever's listening in, if you're thinking of anything that we're saying relates to you, well, guess what? You're one of the fucking elite. You think not typically what the regular people think. So if you're like, anything here strikes a little light in your head, like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. That's fantastic. You need to capitalize on that, because you're not a typical person in society. You got it. And guess what, guys? If you do not have what we're saying in this episode, you can become that by taking what we're saying, take action, and implement it. But you have to make a conscious decision that you want to do that, and you really need to strive towards that excellence in your life. So...
And I'm glad you said that, because there may be a lot of people out there that just haven't been exposed to this type of thinking. And it just sounds like hogwash, right? It's like
just sounds craziness.
Yeah, these guys are crazy, right? Because that's how I used to think about it.
Yeah, and especially with the visualization.
If you don't, it's very simple. If you want to accomplish something, look at the fastest way to do it is to look at what others who have already accomplished it have done. And if we're telling you, or somebody's telling you that's done the things that you want to do, if you want to become a successful salesperson, if you want to be leading a team that's top performing in the country, if you want to build an organization for yourself that brings in millions of dollars of revenue, right? You're talking right now to a guy that's telling you how he's done it.
That's John. Granted, he's been on this earth for 72 years, but you could do it in half the time if you listen to him.
Yeah, you could speed it up.
Yeah, but that's what you got to do. You got to take what he's saying and implement it. He's absolutely right. And guess what? You know how John got to this level? By doing the same thing he just told you. He listened to people like Tony Robbins, like you said, and he took what they said and he took it into action. He even said that example when he was 21 years old. He did that. He went to Barnes & Noble and bought the books. You did that.
Simple step.
You're a living example of what you're telling people. So it's not crazy hogwash like you said. It's fucking simple. But it's not easy. And I think a lot of people really miss that translation there. It's not simple. I mean, it is simple, but it's not easy.
It's not easy because your habits that you've developed over your entire life, or you've taken from those around you, such as parents or family members, right? You see, thinking, the way you think is a habit, right? The way you move and the way you act physically is a habit. Everything's a habit. So habits, that's why it's not easy. Because habits are very hard to break for a reason, right? But tell you, there's a great book called The Power of Habit. Get it? It'll teach you the science behind habits and how to change them, as well as why they serve a purpose.
There's one thing I read. If you do something for 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit. Was that in the book? I don't know.
There's some debate about that. But it's interesting how you start to understand that. But yes, in theory, it's somewhere between 21 and 30 days.
Let's say 30 to 40. Just do something that you want. Read every day. If you want to become a reader,
do it for a month. You're pretty good at creating a new habit, right? Yeah. And there's strategies that you can do to not. It's not about breaking a habit. Sometimes it's about replacing a habit.
I was going to say, you don't have to focus on getting rid of one. Focus on getting a new one, and then you won't have time for the old one.
Right.
That's what I do. I don't focus on you're focusing on negative shit. Then that's another thing too. You got to completely erase thinking negative in any aspect.
Your mind is such a powerful thing.
It's scary.
I used to smoke cigarettes when I was a kid, whatever, I was in my teens, or maybe college, and I wanted to quit. All I did, guys, is I literally would sit down every night, and I'd visualize my lungs turning black, me getting sick.
That's crazy.
And I'd create this visual in my head of that, and I'd think about cigarettes as I was doing it, and I related cigarette. Over time, my subconscious mind started to realize that cigarette, and I'd still smoke while I was doing this, but over the course of about 30 days, right, I didn't want to have them anymore.
That's
my subconscious mind started telling me and relating a negative effect to the habit of smoking the cigarette, and naturally my body wants to preserve itself and move away from pain and move away from displeasure. So therefore, I didn't have the cravings, I didn't want it anymore, and that's how I ended up stopping smoking.
That's incredible. I never even thought about doing it in different aspects of life, the visualization stuff. That's nuts.
Anything you want to accomplish.
To get rid of something negative, that's awesome. That's something cool. I always thought of it as visualizing to get something positive, not to get rid of something negative.
I guess I was doing a combination of visualization and affirmations, right? Without even knowing what I was doing yet at that point.
That's crazy, yeah. But it works. Yeah. It absolutely works. Yep. So, guys, this has been a very long episode, but I got tons of value, tons of knowledge. You guys got to listen to this episode twice if you have to go back. Take some notes. Well, first thing first here, I think I've told you before, but once you are on Midnight Motivation, this is more than a podcast, it's a movement, and I call it the Midnight Motivation Mob, and MOB stands for Made of Bosses, and a boss is built on self-sacrifice, and the whole point of the podcast is to make everyone listening in to be a boss in their life, whatever it is they do. They can be a stay-at-home mother, a waiter, an entrepreneur, a CEO, and now that you're on the show, you're an honorary boss. You were a boss before you even got on the show, but now you're part of the Midnight Motivation Mob, so welcome, John. The viewers and the rest of the mob welcomes you with open arms. Guys,
it's my pleasure, Tony. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you for taking the time out of your busy day to having you on. You really do. Guys, John's a really busy guy, so I really do appreciate him coming out. He's about to have a kid soon. His wife's ready to burst. So he's going to be looking back on this. His son will be looking back on this one day and be like, that's my dad, you know? And this was right before he was born, too, so this is awesome. Yeah. But, thank you for taking your time out. Guys, we do this completely free. We don't pay for anything. We're not giving you ads or anything right now. Just do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and review. Let's get the word out there. I just want to get the podcast out to as many people as possible. That's the whole goal here. The bigger the reach. We've been listened to in 23 countries now. We've just hit a month today. Today's Wednesday. Yeah, we hit a month, 30 days. 23 countries. We got 53 rates on there. Wow. So let's keep growing this, guys. We got a few thousands of listeners. Let's keep this ball rolling. See what we can do. I appreciate you all, and I'll be on next time talking to you guys. Boom.